Good morning, everyone. Welcome to week 4 of the summer term. I hope you had a really nice weekend and that all of you remain well. Just a quick assembly from me this morning. I'm recording this on Thursday afternoon, and so I can't comment on what the Prime Minister might or might not have said on Sunday evening, which is 3 days away from now, and which of course by Monday morning will be last night. So I can't speculate on what his announcement might have been around schools reopening or not reopening and what the government's thinking is. But what I can say to you is that my team and I have been working hard to develop good plans that will allow us to reopen the school as and when we're able to do that. And first and foremost in our plans have been your health and safety and of course your happiness as well. So as soon as I can, I'm going to let you know what those plans are. But I should say that all of us here at Worth are feeling very optimistic at the moment about that we're coming out of all of this and that all will be well. I just have 2 things to say this morning, but I wanted to say them while we walk up this hill because I want to show you the azaleas in the front drive, which I think are almost at their full bloom. So really beautiful scene here at Worth just now. And I want to take you up the hill to show you a very small patch of very rare orchids, which Dr. Scott came into the school this week to pollinate all by himself. In 2018, these orchids tried to flower, but they were accidentally picked by a Worth pupil, I don't know who, and so they didn't flower. In 2019, someone accidentally sprayed them with a herbicide, and so they didn't flower then either. This year they flowered. And because they're very rare and very beautiful, I wanted to show them to you. As soon as I've finished with this part of the assembly, we're going to go across to an interview with an old boy from Worth. His name is James Longman. He left in 2004. Well, Desmond's going to interview him about his experience at Worth and his work now, which is with the American news network ABC. So I hope you enjoy that. And the second thing to say is congratulations to you for all the work you're doing with Worth Online, which continues to go really well. Teachers are enjoying it, and we're finding it a really good way of keeping in touch with you during this period. So I hope you find the orchids encouraging. Keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon, and have a great week. Here are the orchids.
I suppose, obviously, James, you work for ABC News, and you're seeing a lot of different things. Would you be able to just give us some of the highlights of what you're seeing at the moment around the world?
Well, this virus has obviously been pretty sad to be tracking. I spent a lot of time in Italy at the beginning when things started to get serious. And since then, we've been stuck at home mostly in the UK. And I think this idea that there is something out there which is very difficult to control or is impossible to control, out of our control, is a really scary idea for people. And so I think it has, over the last few weeks, been rather nice to be back out and about on the road, traveling again. I'm used to traveling all the time, so it's been very weird for me to be stuck home for so long. To see kind of life slowly kind of creeping back. And I think the main takeaway for me has been that often, I spend a lot of time in places where life is more difficult, places where there's war or after disasters have hit, and often these are kind of developing countries. And you always witness how resilient people are. That's the thing you always take away, is just how incredible humans are and how incredible our capacity for resilience is when things don't go very well. And I think in these countries that we live in, these kind of developed nations in Britain and in Europe and the United States, in our bubble and our lovely lives of luxury comparatively, it's very easy to forget that because we never get tested. But now we've been tested and we're seeing, I hope, that resilience which we all have inside us, which you only normally see when it's tested in these other parts of the world. So I think for me, it's a reminder that we're all very, very similar, and that we all have a capacity to cope and survive and to look after one another. And that's been brilliant. That's always my experience in most of the countries I go to, but now I'm witnessing it in Britain and Europe and countries which don't normally have these sorts of problems.
Yeah, no, I love that. They're sort of bringing out the best of humanity. Now, you're obviously a worthwhile boy. I remember, I think I was in year 9 when you were head boy in year 13, and you're obviously a journalist. And I think did you start off, you were involved with covering some of the stuff that was going on in Syria?
That's right, yeah. I mean, I left Worth without much of an idea what I wanted to do, but I just knew that I wanted to travel. So I went away and spent a year kind of traveling a lot, and then I did a degree in Arabic, which meant that I had to focus quite a lot on the Middle East, and I went to live in Syria as part of my degree. And then my love affair with Syria began, and it never really ended, but the war began there, and it became an asset that I knew the country so well. And I started reporting inside the country for a couple of newspapers in the UK, and I got a job at Sky. And at that time, really, no one knew much about Syria. I mean, if you cast your minds back to 2011, a lot of people had to look at a map and go, Syria, what? I mean, never heard of it. I remember when I lived there in 2007-8, I was trying to get a money wire transfer on Western Union, and I went to the place to get it, and they didn't have any record of it. And I called Western Union, and I said, I'm in Syria. And she went, oh, we sent the money to Sierra Leone. I was like, what? Like, no one had any idea. So I think it was that knowledge and good timing, I suppose. And then, yeah, I was there on and off, in and out of the country. And then eventually in 2012, I got a job at the BBC, and that was that. But I've always loved Syria. It's a beautiful, brilliant country. And that's what got me started in journalism.
Well, thank you. And would you say there was any particular values that you picked up at Worth which have sort of helped you in your line of work?
I think being interested in people. I mean, what was brilliant about Worth was that I always felt that it would foster whatever strength you had rather than forcing a new strength on you, if you see what I mean. So, for example, I am basically innumerate. I'm so bad at maths, it's unbelievable. There was no way that I was ever going to do anything remotely scientific or mathematical or, even business. Do not trust me with your money. So I think that Worth was a good place for me because it was like, well, these are the things you're good at. Let's go with those. And that was brilliant. And it was always priding itself on value added rather than just everyone has to be this kind of robot of what a good finished product should be. And then it fostered in me an interest in exploring, I guess, and interested in other people. And I think also maybe valuing compassion, because as a journalist, I think if you're good in this job, and for me, and certainly the journalists that I admire, are the people who value, what it is to be a good human being, who value neighborliness, who value, people who just look after one another. They are the journalists, for me, the people I've always looked up to. A lot of big names at the BBC I got to work with. I was very fortunate, people like Jeremy Bowen and Fergal Keane. These are people who care about other people. And I don't know, I like to think that Worth does that to you. It gives you that idea that other people are valuable. And I think I've never really been a journalist which has been hungry for the story, got to get to the bottom of it no matter what. For me, the journalism I like is human-focused journalism, to tell stories about people that you may not otherwise come across, and to shine a light sometimes on people doing good things. That's worthwhile in this world. The news is often very, very, very negative. It's always been a lesson for me that people cling on to the good stuff when it comes to bad news. I remember when I was in Paris during the Bataclan attacks, and we got in touch with this man who had written a letter of forgiveness to the attackers. His wife had been killed, had a small child, and he wrote a letter. It was a French poet, so it was kind of the most French thing ever, but he wrote a letter saying, I forgive you because I don't want to teach my children hate. And I thought, well, why don't we get this guy to read the letter to camera? And that would be kind of a nice piece of content, digital content, right? This thing went absolutely viral. Like, everyone shared it. It was really big. It was, I think, at the time, the biggest thing the BBC had ever shared online. Why? Because it was good, it was hopeful, it was happy, and it was someone doing something unexpected but beautiful in a really ugly moment. And I think that's what people connect with. So if Worth taught me anything, it was to look for those moments, because that really is what people connect with most. When the world seems ugly and scary, people always navigate towards beauty. And it's valuing that, I think, maybe that Worth helped me with. And having good friends. I mean, I've kept basically all of my friends that I was at Worth with, and I don't know many other people who have. Certainly not. I'm 33. So all this time later, I'm still best friends with my mates from school.
No, amazing. I love that. Yeah, that sense of just looking for the beauty in life. And I'm just thinking of all our students at the moment that are doing distance learning, all at home. I mean, would there be anything that you just want to say to them now? Just a word of advice or encouragement, just as we finish off?
I don't know. I mean, look, enjoy this time. Take time to, I don't know, just use the experience for what it is, in the sense that it's something new, right? And I think we get so het up in what we should be doing all the time. And, we've got deadlines and making sure that we're achieving our potential all the time, and making sure that we're doing better than our neighbor. And, what mark have they got? What job have they got lined up? What did they get in their exams? Use this time to forget about all that. Use this time to reconnect to things that are really important, like your family and your friends, and the rest will come, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that, James.